Welcome to the audiobook of New Social Studies, Grade 10. Unit 5, Lesson 2, page number 119. Executive. Introduction to Executive. Executive is the law implementing body of the state. It is also known as the government or the Council of Ministers. It makes programs, policies, and implements the laws formulated by the legislature. The executive power of Nepal is vested in the Council of Ministers. The responsibility for issuing general directives, controlling and regulating the governance of Nepal lies with the Council of Ministers. There are 3 levels of executives in Nepal: Federal Executive at Center, Provincial Executive at Province, and Local Executive at local level. Here we have a picture where Singha Darbar is shown, which is the office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Federal Executive. Form of government. The form of government of Nepal is multi-party, competitive, federal, democratic, republican, parliamentary form of government based on pluralism. Spelling of pluralism is Pluralism. Executive power. The executive power of Nepal is vested in the Council of Ministers. The responsibility for issuing general directives, controlling and regulating the governance of Nepal lies with the Council of Ministers. Composition of Council of Ministers. The leader of a parliamentary party that commands majority in the House of Representatives is appointed as the Prime Minister by the President, and the Council of Ministers is constituted under his or her chairpersonship. At center. On the recommendation of the Prime Minister, the President constitutes the Council of Ministers, comprising a maximum of 25 ministers, including the Prime Minister, in accordance with the inclusive principle from amongst the members of the Federal Parliament. Here we have a picture where K.P. Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, is taking oath from the President. And we have another picture here where President Vidyadevi Bhandari administering the oath to newly appointed ministers in the presence of Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli. The present Council of Ministers constituted on 2nd Chaitra 2074 Bikram Sambat. Here we have the table where there is name and portfolio of the Council of Ministers. Here we have Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. K.P. Sharma Oli. The portfolio is Urban Development, Health and Population. And we have Honorable Ministers, Mr. Ishwar Pokhrel, Portfolio Defense, Mr. Ram Bahadur Thapa, Portfolio Home Affairs, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Gewali, Foreign Affairs, Mr. Barsaman Pun, Energy, Water Resource and Irrigation, Mr. Giriraj Mani Pokhrel, Education, Science and Technology, Mr. Matrika Prasad Yadav, Industry, Commerce and Supplies, Mr. Raghubir Mahaseth, Physical Infrastructure and Transportation, Mr. Gokarna Bista, Labor, Employment and Social Protection, Mr. Sakti Bahadur Basnet, Forest and Environment, Mr. Lal Babu Pandit, Federal Affairs and General Administration, Mr. Tham Maya Thapa, Women, Children and Senior Citizen, Dr. Yuvaraj Khatiwada, Finance, Mr. Jagat Bahadur Sunar, Vishwakarma, Youth and Sports. Mr. Rabindra Prasad Adhikari, Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation. Mr. Sher Bahadur Tamang, Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs. Mr. Chakrapani Khanal, Agricultural, Land Management and Cooperatives. Ms. Bina Magar, Drinking Water. Honorable State Ministers. Ms. Padma Kumari Aryal, Health and Population. Mr. Gokul Prasad Baskota, Communication and Information Technology. Mr. Dhana Bahadur Buda, Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation. Ms. Ramkumari Chaudhary, Agricultural, Land Management and Cooperation. Agriculture, Land Management and Cooperatives. Functions of Executive. 1. Administrative function. This is the function of the executive related to the administration. The main function of executive is to implement the laws formulated by the legislature. It maintains the stability, peace and order in the country. Besides these, it prepares the policies and programs of the state, runs the administration and controls and directs it, maintains the good governance in the country, and brings the activities of the government to the lower level. These are the administrative functions of the executive. 2. Diplomatic function. This is the function of the executive concerned with diplomatic relation and cooperation. Under the diplomatic functions, the executive determines the foreign policy, extends the relation with other countries and makes treaties and agreements. It also appoints the ambassadors to foreign countries and make the appointment in the diplomatic post. 3. Financial function. The financial mobilization and management of the country is carried out by the executive. Every year, the finance minister introduces the annual budget in the federal parliament. The executive may impose tax and collect it, mobilize the revenue and take the loan, etc. With the mobilization of finance, the other activities can be run. Thus, financial mobilization and management is an important function of the executive. 4. Military function. The Constitution of Nepal has made a provision of National Security Council under the chairpersonship of the Prime Minister for making recommendation to the Government of Nepal, Council of Ministers, for the formulation of a policy on overall national interest, security and defense of Nepal, and for mobilization and control of the Nepal Army. The executive has to save the country from foreign attacks. It also executes the functions of declaring war and proposing peace. The government of Nepal may also mobilize the Nepal Army in all other works, including development, construction, and disaster management work. Similarly, the President can appoint and remove the Chief of the Army from the office on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers. The President is the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Nepal Army and can declare the mobilization of the Nepal Army on the recommendation of National Security Council and the decision of Government of Nepal, Council of Ministers. Provincial Executives. The executive power of a province is vested in the Provincial Council of Ministers. The responsibility for issuing general directives, controlling and regulating the governance of the province lies in the Provincial Council of Ministers. A chief minister is there in each province as the head of the provincial executive. Composition of Provincial Council of Ministers. The chief of province appoints the leader of the parliamentary party commanding a majority in the provincial assembly as the chief minister, and The State Council of Ministers is constituted under his or her chairpersonship. The Chief of Province, on recommendation of the Chief Minister, constitutes the Provincial Council of Ministers, consisting of maximum of 20% of the total number of members of Provincial Assembly, including the Chief Minister, in accordance with the inclusive principle from amongst the members of Provincial Assembly. Provincial Chiefs of 7 Provinces. Province number 1, Govinda Subba. Province number 2, Ratneshwar Lal Kayastha. Province number 3, Anuradha Koirala. Province number 4, Baburam Kunwar. Province number 5, Umakanta Jha. Province number 6, Durga Keshar Khanal. Province number 7, Mohan Raj Malla. Chief Ministers of 7 Provinces. Province number 1, Sher Dhan Rai. Province number 2, Mohammad Lal Babu Raut. Province number 3, Dormani Paudel. Province number 4, Prithvi Subba Gurung. Province number 5, Shankar Pokharel. Province number 6, Mahindra Bahadur Shahi. Province number 7, Trilochan Bhatta. Local Executive. Executive power of local level. The executive power of the local level is vested in the village executive or the municipal executive. The responsibility for issuing general directives, controlling and regulating the governance of the village body and the municipality lies with the village executive and the municipal executive. There is a chairperson in each village body, and the village executive is formed under her or his chairpersonship. Similarly, there is a mayor in each municipality, and the municipal executive is formed under his or her chairpersonship. President of Nepal. There shall be a President of Nepal. The President shall be the head of state of Nepal. The President shall promote the national unity of Nepal. The main duty of the President shall be to abide by and protect the Constitution. Election of President. The Presidents shall be elected by an electoral college composed of the member of the Federal Parliament and of the state assemblies. The voting weight age of the members of the Federal Parliament and of the state assemblies shall vary. A person who secures a majority of the then existing total votes of the electoral college shall be elected as the President. If one of the candidates secures a majority, there shall be voting between the two candidates who have secured the highest number of votes. I will repeat. If none of the candidates secure a majority, there shall be voting between the two candidates who have secured the highest number of votes, and a candidate who secures more than 50% of the total votes in such a voting shall be elected as the President. If none of the candidates secure more than 50% of the total votes, even in the voting, re-voting shall be held. A candidate who secures a majority of the total valid votes cast in such voting shall be elected as the President. The term of office of the President shall be 5 years from the date on which he or she is so elected. Qualification for President. A person who has the following qualifications shall be qualified to become the President. Being qualified to become a member of the Federal Parliament, having completed the age of at least 45 years, and not being disqualified by any law. A person who has already been elected twice as a President shall not become a candidate in the election to the President. Vacation of office of President. The office of the President shall become vacant in any of the following circumstances. If he or she tenders resignation in writing to the Vice President. if a motion of impeachment against him or her is passed under Article 101, if his or her term of office expires, and if he or she dies. The President shall exercise such powers and perform such duties as conferred to him or her pursuant to this Constitution or a federal law. The functions to be performed by the President shall be performed by the Vice President during the absence of the President. The President shall take an oath of office and secrecy before the Chief Justice and the Vice President before the President. In the picture, we have President Vidya Devi Bhandari taking oath from Chief Justice. Now, we have activities in page number 124. 1. Demonstrate the meeting of the Council of Ministers in the class. Present the role of Education Minister, Women and Children Minister, and Home Minister in that meeting. 2. Study the Constitution of Nepal to get more knowledge about the Provincial Executive and Local Executive. Present the findings in the class. Exercise. Short answer question. Number 1. Write the differences between the Federal Executive and Provincial Executive. Number 2. Mention the functions of executive in points. Number 3. How can you help the government personally? Write in points. Number 4. If you became the Minister of the Government of Nepal, how would you maintain your responsibility? Long answer questions. Number 1. Define the executive. Explain any 3 functions of the executive. Number 2. Explain the composition of the Council of Ministers in Nepal and also mention its importance. Project work. Number 1. Collect the name and responsibility of the members of the Council of Ministers and form of the present government, then present in the class. Number 2. Write the name of the Prime Ministers of Nepal from People's Movement 2062-63 to the present. Here we have the table where there is serial number, name of the Prime Ministers, and duration, date and year. This is the end of Unit 5, Lesson 2.